Brenda McGee, and this is Paranormal Encounters. Today I have a very special guest. His name is Brad Lanborg. Brad, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Brenda.
So, like on the show we usually do, I like to say, I'm glad that you're here. Anything we talk about is paranormal, and paranormal just means not normal.
Yeah.
So the first question I have for you, Brad, is when did you first experience something you could not explain?
All right, so the first time I experienced something I couldn't explain, I was probably about 10 years old. I was sleeping over at a friend's house. This is back in the Super Nintendo days. Well, the regular Nintendos. We were playing All-Star Baseball. I'll never forget this. It was a rainy day. And we're playing, and it's thundering and lightning outside. And before going over there, I had heard him and the kid the kid who lived across the street from me's cousins. So that's how we all hung out. And I'd heard them talk about his grandparents in the house, but I never really, put too much thought to that because I had never seen or wanted to. It was scary to me at that time at 10 years old. So I remember playing the video game and watching and hearing somebody walk up the stairs, and when we looked up and you could just see the robe and everything just walk right by, and it like at 10 years old, you can imagine, like I was like jumping out of my skin. Grabbed the phone, called my mom, come get me, I gotta get out of here. I was crying, I was like, wow, this is pretty crazy. But that was my first time actually seeing something from that realm, and it was pretty eye-opening to me and confusing at the same time. So that also sparked a lot of interest as I was older.
Now, were the kids they the only ones that saw it, or did the people that lived there?
Well, from what they say, to them it was normal. Like it's mom and dad, their grandparents just lived in the basement and they were always there. I know from me, I had never really had too much communication with the parents, so I don't know, to be honest with you. But as far as the kids, I know like my friend Mark at the time, he definitely had seen them, and my friend Chris said he had saw them, but I don't know.
And as we know, at a young age, that's where most children see spirit, because they just are so open. Yeah,
clean the pineal glands.
Yeah. So what else would you like to tell us?
What else would I like to tell you? I mean, I guess my area of expertise would be like law of attraction and energy. I guess for a lot of your listeners, one of the things that I could give some insight into is possibly why they're seeing these things, how maybe, and and what they can do about it. So that being said, I came across this book called Levels of Energy by Frederick Dodson. It's one of the best books I've ever read. It literally changed my life. Understanding energy for where I am in the here and now at every time, and why my surroundings are what they are in the here and now. And that being said, I guess to sum it up quickly for your listeners, the best way I've heard it described, the way he would describe it is, the energy scale. So you have your negative energy realm and your positive energy realm. 0 being the middle, negative 1,000 to positive 1,000. So the whole negative energy realm only has influence on energy up to 190. Now, the key about 190 is that's the habitual energy of the American people. America's average energy level is 190. That's where all the marketing companies spend all their money marketing to 190 energies. So that's the majority of most people. So now that being said, negative entities only have that, like they can only instill fear up to 190. So now let me give you a little bit of background on the scale. So, when like level, I'll start at 0 and work up. So like a level 30 would be like a heroin addict. That would climb up to, like a rapist would be like a 90. Anger is 160. Apathy is 50. When you get into hope and everything, you're coming across 190 to 200, you're crossing that line. So on the scale of energy, when you can get to the point of hoping for things, when you understand that your energy is now hoping, not dwelling, I hope this happens, I hope this, you're on the road to getting away from those energy realms. When you start to take in hope. Now, that being said, the average person being 190 has influence. So the negative realm, when you have anger, you're at 160. So now here's the thing with anger and energy too. So if you're somebody who dwells on apathy and you're a level energy 50, to get angry, you're raising your energy. So it's a good thing. To be a 190, a 200, or a 300 energy person, to experience anger, you're really lowering your energy. So you're lowering your energy to be susceptible to those negative energy realms. And those negative entities will latch on. Now, the closer you are to 190, the less they can latch on, but the lower and the more pockets you have that are fear-driven, the more they can latch on, and that's how the spirits, they attach. And now, as they attach more, you're going to feel more dragged down and heavy, and you're going to feel more negative energy. It's just how it works. Like they look around for the people that they can latch on to. The people, when you're above 190, your energy automatically, like I said, starts to change. You start to develop the mentality of hope, and you start to push the fear away. Once that transition happens, they can't really affect you anymore. Now, if you're at 200, that doesn't mean that you can't still have pockets below where they can get you during those pockets, but your habitual state being at 200, once you're out of those pockets and over whatever it was that got you mad or angry or upset, then you're going to forget about them and they're going to leave you alone. But the more prone you are to extending your energy and your emotions into them, the more you talk about them, the more that you, in your brain, worry about them, then the more they're going to be there. It's like, what you think about, you bring about. So what you resist persists. So the worst thing you could do is fear them, worry about them, because that's just giving them power. And when you fear them, they love it. And they're like, hey, they're getting their buddies. Come on over. Like, check out this guy. Look how scared he is.
Exactly. And that's what I tell people. I said, because they'll say, I know there's something here. I said, well, just try not to show any fear.
Yeah.
Because if you don't fear them, it's like when you fear them, you're giving them your energy.
Exactly.
And they'll take that. And I always tell people, that is a lot of how poltergeist activities start. If you're constantly screaming and yelling in your home, there was this one case that we had. They just yelled and yelled and yelled. Well, all of a sudden, all of that energy turned into
lots
a
of
negative
anger.
Entity.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. I love that concept.
Well, it's through my experiences, I've climbed the energy scale myself, coming up it and to where I am now, and I still have a long way to go. But just seeing it firsthand myself throughout the whole process of why I allow these fears to control me. In fear, all it is false evidence appearing real. Depending on how deeply you look into things and understand the universe, a lot of people will take on, quantum physicists are really making groundbreaking strides every day of developing consciousness and what our reality is. And the ego is where all these negative entities exist. When you learn to think through the ego, then they can't bother you, because the ego is designed to push people away. Yeah. That's its main design. It's your protective, it's trying to protect you, but at the same time in protecting you, it's making you say things that you shouldn't say or wouldn't normally say.
Right.
Or that, when you say things, why did I say that? That's all ego. That's all fear. That's all reflection of how you feel inside about you. Those are, when you're attacking or yelling at somebody or any of these things are coming out, it's all reflection based. And I tell this to everybody. When I hear somebody yelling at somebody, and just 9 out of 10 times when you hear somebody yelling about something, you'll say to them, "Did you hear what you just said?" And what do you mean? Well, you just said such and such, and well, what do you think about? You just said all these things about this person, but now if somebody said that to you, how could you relate that? Do you see you're saying all these things because it's a reflection of you. Like every time somebody gets to that point of anger and fear, that's the ego expressing itself on how they need to help themselves.
Right.
So when people realize and understand that their energy is off like that, they could just simply tweak it by having some positive thoughts. The average person has 66,000 thoughts in a day, 60,000 of which are negative. Now that's pretty, that's pretty crazy when you think about it.
That is.
But the good thing about that, without scaring you, is that, one positive thought is 100 times more powerful than a negative thought.
Right.
So when you understand this concept, you're allowed to have negative thoughts. It's going to happen. You know what I mean? All you have to do is have one positive thought on that same energy, and it's going to wipe it clean for a little while. You know what I mean? And like the best way I like to teach people to raise their energy is, if you have one more positive thought a day today than you had yesterday, your life's going to constantly get better. Right. The less attachments you have to anything, your life's going to get better. The whole trick to it is, if you can always come back to the here and now, right here, right now, this is all that matters. When you can do that, nothing can bother you, because you're realizing, I'm right here, I'm right now. There's no anxiety, there's no depression. Right. Depression's, you're worried about the past. Anxiety is worried about the future. Right. Thing about anxiety that I understand a lot of people have it, and I'm very empathetic to it, but I just want people to understand that 90% of the anxiety isn't even real. It's illusionary things that you're worrying about in your brain that may not even happen. Right. So when you're focusing your energy on anxiety, you're in that realm subject to negative entities. Right. You know what I mean? That's what they look for. They look for the anxiety, they look for the depression, they look for fear. Right. And when they find that, they're gonna make a home and they're gonna get comfortable. And the more you hold on to all that stuff, the more they're going to be there, the bigger they're going to grow. So when I say here and now, if you're in the here and now and you're only focused on right here, right now, there's no anxiety or depression. There's just right here, right now. Right. And that's a big thing for people to understand, because especially people who spend a lot of time alone or whatever, just click on the radio, throw on some classical music. Classical music is like a 500 energy. It's going to, no matter how you're feeling, even if it's just playing slightly in the background, it's going to raise up your energy, and you're not even going to realize why. Right. You know what I mean? Light sage, like that cleans the room.
It does.
You know what I mean? Ring some bells.
Or even just smells, different smells.
Smells like
orange.
There's so many things to raise energy. And just to it's all where your attention is. If your focus is on the fear and the anxiety of, there's a ghost in my house is haunted. Now what happens? They go to work, they tell everybody at work, you're not going to believe what happened to me last night. I was brushing my teeth and I heard clank, 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 clank. Yeah. And then somebody else comes in, Bob, you're not going to believe what happened to me when I was brushing my teeth last night. You know what I mean? They're going to tell these stories. They're going to go to the hair salon or the barber shop, and they're going to go to the coffee shop, and they're going to tell everybody these stories. What's happening? Right. Where's their energy? Where's their attention?
Now, I know something happened to you at one of your jobs.
Yeah. Yeah, so we were at the time doing construction. It's probably about, my daughter's gonna be 13. She was probably like 2 at the time, so about 11 years ago. We're in Nantucket, and we would go out to the job site for a couple weeks at a time, work, and then come home, get these houses ready to be rented. And while being there, the owner had told us that there was something in the house, but we didn't really pay it any mind at the time. And so once we start diving in, I'm doing some electrical, and I turn a breaker off to change a plug, and I test the plug when I turn the breaker off, and I put a piece of electrical tape on top of it, and I get back upstairs and I test the plug, and it's dead. So I change the plug, bap! I get electrocuted. I go running down the stairs, and Mike, did you guys turn the breaker on? We didn't touch the breaker, Brad. You sure you didn't touch the breaker? It's got a piece of tape on it, Brad. Look, nobody touched the... So I'm like, all right. So I do it again. I check it. I take the tape off, check it, make sure it's the right breaker, do it again. Go upstairs, bap! Get hit again. I'm like, this is crazy. I test it with my wiggies, it's dead. I go to change it, bap! So I'm like, all right, this is
And
enough
that's
of
painful.
this. Yeah. I got hit just with the voltage side.
Oh, okay.
Thank God, not the load
Jeez.
side, but that hurts a lot worse. But anyway, so what had happened is now we're playing cards and that night, and I never saw a person get a run of cards like this. Like my buddy Mike, he literally won. We were playing some Texas Hold'em, and literally this kid, I've never seen somebody get so many consecutive hands in a row where they won. Like it was something like, I'd say if out of all the cards we played that night, and because he kept winning, we were just like, it can't keep going. Let's see how long it's gonna go. And he literally probably won about 60 out of 65 hands. I've never seen a spell of luck like that in my life. And we still hadn't figured it out yet, but that night we all go to bed, and the way that the hallway, it's a big house in Nantucket, and it's got a big long hallway with 3 bedrooms all off to the right side. And we all go into the bedrooms, and we're all in bed getting ready for the night. I think I was reading or something at the time, and we hear going down the hallway, and all 3 of us jump up, and we're looking at the doors. It's like, like you see on TV. We're like, what the heck was that? And we all think that we're messing with each other.
Right.
So we close the door. We do. We hear it again. I'm like, this is crazy. So all 3 of us go into the same room, and some time had gone by. We started talking. It didn't happen for a little while, and then about 20 minutes later, we're all talking, and we hear now we all whoa. Something's out there. This is now we just heard, and we didn't see anything at that time, but we knew that the presence was there. And so the very next day I go to do this electrical again, and it turned out that this entity or this ghost that hadn't moved on, he had really liked my friend Mike. So it kind of made sense as to why he was getting all those hands. I don't know if it has anything to do with it or not. I'm just speculating, but it was definitely supernatural. And so that next day doing electrical again, he had done it to me one more time. And at this time now I know. And I just literally, I got upset with him. I said, anything happens to me, I have a little kid. I'm gonna promise you when I get to that other side, the very first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come find you. And I'm gonna make you just as miserable as you're making me right now. And literally, I promise you, after that, he left me alone. Because he realized I wasn't in fear anymore. I was just getting angry with him. But being angry is still 160 subjectable to that.
Right.
So I was lucky that he left me alone. Understanding how I think now, I would have just dealt with it a completely different way. I wouldn't have resisted it at all. I wouldn't have allowed him to understand that I could let him control my energy. Right. Because by doing that, I was giving him power. And that's why he kept messing with me, because I was feeding him the power.
Right.
But then as soon as I built the courage to say, you know what?
Exactly.
It all changed.
It does change. And that's what people don't understand.
Yeah.
You need to, like when they have, people, spirits in their house, I said, take your home back.
Yeah.
Tell them they're not welcome here, that they need to go.
Yeah, that's it. And when you do that, and when you mean business to them, they're going to go, because when they see that you mean business, you're not fun to them anymore. It's not comfortable for them. As you awaken and become more of a good person, raise your energy, they're not going to want to stay around. They're going to want to go look for that next person that they can latch onto and start all over. You know what I mean? Because they need that constant feeding of fear, anxiety, and depression to grow. If they're not getting it, they're not growing, just like anything else. Now, I'm going to go back on another thing with the energy too. So, that being said, belief has a lot to do with it as well. What people believe. Now, there's people who believe, and then there's people who don't believe.
Right.
Now, it's people who don't believe in anything, that truly don't believe in anything, usually don't see anything. But the people that believe and have all this anger, anxiety, fear, traumatic experiences in their life, the more that they're dwelling on them, because they believe in these, they're also there. If they just simply didn't believe in them, that would be another way to help them detach. But the thing is not believing in them and still holding on to all the fear, it's going to just allow new ones to come. So it's kind of a process that, just because you don't believe in that one doesn't mean that another one's not going to come to try and get you to believe again. So in believing in them, you have to understand what they are, and they can only attach to the energy. So, doing simple things like in the book Levels of Energy, the highest energy state a human can experience is oming, meditating under Om. It's an 820 energy. It's the highest thing, energy, that a human can experience on this plane. The only people who have ever been close to that are like Jesus and Buddha that we know of.
Right.
That pure consciousness. And, with the fear and the ego and all this stuff, we have a subconscious mind and a conscious reality. Our subconscious mind is where all the problems are in the fear and the anxiety with people that have these entities. So for instance, the subconscious mind doesn't understand the difference between real and fake. So when I say, let me think of a good example here. If I say, if a parent goes into a store, for instance, with their kid, and the kid says, "Mommy, can I have that?" "No, honey, you can't have that." "Well, why?" "Because I can't afford it right now." That's literally the worst thing you could do for your energy, because your subconscious just heard you say you can't afford it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So because your subconscious says, "You can't have it because I can't afford it," it doesn't understand the difference of whether or not you can or can't. It's just going to align with reasons you can't afford it.
Right.
So that's manifesting. So you have to be very careful with your words. You have to be very careful with your emotions, your thoughts. If you're somebody who's subject to these entities, think of everything that's coming out of your mouth. And words are very powerful. They're magical. It's like casting spells with words. It's not a coincidence they call it spelling when you break down
Right.
a word.
It's
You know
the
what I mean?
intention that you're putting out there.
And the intention and the energy is all linked to the emotion. The emotions are what control everything. So when your emotional state is off, everything else is going to be off one way or another. So be careful how you program your subconscious mind. Don't say you can't afford things. Don't say I'm scared of this. Don't watch all the scary movies. If you're somebody who's in fear of these things, then watching that scary movie Annabelle, then you're going to be thinking
Right,
about it,
exactly.
creating that energy. Now
Right.
your emotions are resonating with that energy. It's a frequency emitting from your body that's literally going to attract its like. It works like a magnet.
So we're running out of time, but what would you say to everybody, Brad, is try to be more positive?
Well, simple things. And it's not something that a lot of people are going to do overnight, but start small. If it's one thing different today than yesterday, and just set little small steps, because you don't want to overwhelm yourself with this process. If it's something like getting out in nature and connecting, do things to feel grounded. Release that energy. Get a Reiki healing by Brenda. That always works for me. There's so many things, but there's just simple things like lighting sage, carrying crystals, watching your thoughts. Specifically, like, when you say I am or I will, I am strong, I am healthy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's definite. Yeah. Don't say, everybody when they don't do something right, it's, well, I'm trying. Well, trying isn't doing. Trying is failing. If you're trying, you already failed. You know what I mean? Just do it. Just do it. Don't try. Like the people who say try are chock full of excuses.
Right.
And the tries are just excuses. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
they gotta narrow their focus. They gotta define what they want. One of the best things that I could say for people to raise their energy, and when I ask an average adult, I'll say, what do you want? They'll look at me like I'm crazy. What do you mean, what do I want? What do you want, they'll say. I'm no, serious. Like, what do you want? What do you want out of your life? Like, one of the best things that I've heard, Frederick Dodson had said this. He said, write your autobiography. Take a 15-page autobiography about yourself. Do this as a homework assignment, and what would you want them to remember you as? What do you want them to say about you? Nobody knows, but sit there, take that time. What do you want them to remember you as? What do you want to be known as? What do you want out of life? Because nobody knows. When, next time you go up to somebody, ask them, hey, what do you want?
Right.
They're gonna look at you like you're crazy. What do you mean, what do I want? What do you want? But it's simple. Like, what do you want out of life? You know what I mean? Like, I want to be happy. I want love. I want, you know, I want all these beautiful things. Like it's all love. It's all love. Keep your attention off the fear. Keep your attention off the excuses, because like attracts like, just like a magnet. It's the way it is.
Well,
what you want, and then last thing, how would it feel? When you can envision how it would feel, now you're manifesting it and bringing it closer to you. When you're in resistance, you're pushing it away.
Well, Brad, I thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me,
And
Brenda.
if anyone has any questions or they want to be on the show, you can email me at paranormalencounterstv9@gmail.com. And thanks for watching.
Yeah.